Hello everybody, welcome back. If you haven't been here before, my name is Debbie and I read a lot of books. Today I've got a series that I haven't read from in a while because I was waiting for the new books to come out. This is the Jessie Hunt series. We're back on Jessie Hunt. Oh, sorry about that. My mum's birthday gift just arrived, so, because it's her birthday in like a week, so, as I film this. Yeah, so the 3 books I have just finished, and I did these very quickly. I could not get enough. So it was The Perfect Trap, The Perfect Expression, and The Perfect Accomplice. 30, 31 and 32. And they're still going. I love this series so much. Blake Pierce has just got a character that you care about, even if you get frustrated with it because she's going through multiple concussions. And at this point in book 32, we've covered about 2 years of Jessie's life. And the amount of shit she's gone through, you want to give her a hug and give her like a onesie and a cocoon and say, just go sleep for a year. Like, you don't have to keep doing, but like, I feel like I identify with Jessie Hunt in a way because I like being busy. I know some people are just like, oh, like if I have a day off, I'm sleeping in and doing nothing. Me, if I have a day off, yeah, I'll allow myself a bit of extra time in bed, but I'll be watching films and videos and reading books and editing videos and making videos because I just can't do nothing. Yes, so book 29 left us on a very massive cliffhanger. They had gone into the building of like the latest person against Jessie and all of her friends, and there was an explosion. And then we were left on a massive cliffhanger, and I was just there going, oh god, who's dead? What's going on? And I was tempted to just go straight in with book 30 because I did have access to it, but at the same time it's just like I like to read 3 at a time, and so that's me and my little quirks where I just wanted to have 3 to read back to back so I could talk about them, because I like to read them close together so I can really focus on what has happened in the backstory as well as looking at the individual stories of each book. After that massive cliffhanger and seeing Valentine at the very front of that explosion, wondering who on earth was going to be affected by that explosion, and we find out that Valentine threw herself out of the fire escape, so she got a few scratches and a bit of internal bleeding from throwing herself out of the fire escape, but the wall took the brunt force of the explosion, so she did manage to get out of the worst of it. And somebody was lost in the explosion, but it wasn't somebody who you consider the core group, so you don't feel as bad about it. Obviously it's still sad when any character dies, but it wasn't somebody who we'd really gotten to know and fall in love with at that point, so it feels really weird to say, oh, they died, but we didn't really know much about them, so it didn't matter. But it's a book. None of the core cast were affected too badly by it. But yeah, so after that massive cliffhanger, and then reading the perverse of it and just like going, okay, so let's get my heart back to normal. Figure out what was going on. But yeah, so the 3 books obviously still continue with their individual stories of murderers in LA that they're trying to focus on, while also continuing the backstory in regards to who is targeting Jessie now. And it's got to a point where it feels like you've had 3 different people at the same time. Because Mark Haddonfield, the student who she brushed off at the university, the college that she teaches at, who then went on a personal vendetta against her, thinking that it's her fault that he couldn't get through college. He has been caught and arrested, but obviously he's still around. He's still got his vendetta against Jessie, and he put up a thing online called the Manifesto. It was only up for a couple of hours until the police were able to bring it all down, but it seems that some people did see it, and so somebody is out there who wants to carry on Mark's work of taking down Jessie. We have also had the Ash Pierce thing where Ash was the... Sorry, there's more. Whenever I film here, I always see the bees and the wasps outside of my window. It's either a bee's nest or wasp nest or even a hornet's nest. I have no idea, but there's definitely something in the roof. Where was I? with Ash Pierce. I find it interesting there. It only recently clocked on to me that it's written by Blake Pierce, and he has named one of the worst assassins in this whole story, Ash Pierce. Yeah, I only clocked onto that in the past 3 books, and it was just like, oh, I now see what Blake Pierce has done there. Yeah, so you got Ash Pierce, who has been trying to carry on the work of somebody else who hired Ash to take out Jessie and all her adjacent friends and family. We have seen her in a coma over the past couple of books, and she has woken up claiming to not know anything about the hit that she was employed to take out. And so you're trying to work out if you can believe her, if you can trust her, and we're getting more points of view of other people. Now, initially in the series, whenever you saw the point of view of somebody who wasn't really a major player, it was a slight indication of somebody about to die. But since the stories where Jessie was kidnapped on her wedding day to Ryan, we've started to see more of other people's point of views when they're not directly in danger. I think it's been part of getting the reader's sympathy, because we've been seeing a bit more from Kat's point of view, and obviously she's had her boyfriend, fiance now, and so I feel, based on what's just happened, I'm not going to give away too many spoilers for people who are still reading it, but there was something that happened that I could kind of see coming based on how Blake Pierce writes. And I was just thinking, is there a reason why we're seeing from Kat's point of view so much at the moment? And yeah, there's a reason for it, and I was gutted. Absolutely gutted. I'll talk more about that bit in the next catch-up, because then at least anybody who is watching, who is reading along with me, will be on the same page in regards to Kat's story and what's going on there. But part of that is her engagement to the man that she met up in the mountains when they were hiding Jessie from Ash Pierce. And yeah, so the Ash Pierce storyline is still going on, the Mark Haddonfield storyline is still going on, and now we've got somebody else coming into the mix to try and carry on Haddonfield's thing. But then we're also seeing points of view of Haddonfield in prison talking to Jessie in his head, and so you know it's very psychological there. You know that he is ill because he is talking to a person in his brain who is kind of Jessie but not. It's his idea of what Jessie is. And so, obviously, he needs psychological help. I just love all the individual stories, because like in the last one? I just like the creative ways that we are seeing Jessie and the LA police solve the murders that are happening, or the homicide special something. It's HSS, I know that. And Ryan, Jessie's husband, was in charge for a while, and now he stepped down and recommended somebody else to take over, and so Ryan's at a point where he's dealing with the fact that for a while he did have ultimate power over the station, and now he's gone into a slightly lesser role, and he's realising that, oh, that brief moment of power that I had, I almost miss it, but at the same time I don't want to be in charge. I want to be on the street, and I want to be partnered with Jessie, and I want to be partnered with my friends to help solve the murders. It's clear that he had a brief moment of enjoying the power, but at the same time also realising that's not where he wanted to be. I feel like so much has happened over the past 3 books. I also realised that when it comes to like the little brief catch-ups, it definitely feels like it's being spread out more, so you don't feel like you're getting an overwhelming amount of repetitiveness when it comes to catching up readers in regards to Jessie's backstory. Because obviously in the beginning it was Jessie and her then husband, and what happened there, and how her husband turned on her, and how he turned out to be a murderer, and then looking at Jessie's serial killer father, which it's still all running through because everything has a knock-on effect. Because it's just like Ash Pierce was hired by Andy, and Andy was connected to one of the original cases I think Andy was in the first book with her husband, so it feels like everything does still come back to that very, very first book, which was The Perfect Block, I want to say. No, that was number 2. The Perfect Wife was the first one. But it feels like there's lots of strands that all come back to The Perfect Wife, and it's clever. It is really, really clever. I really, really respect what Blake Pearce is doing with this series, because he just continually brings everything back to that first book and the original story that got the readers in the first place, which was Jessie's backstory as being a serial killer's daughter and witnessing her father killing her mother, and then how that affected her growing up and turned her into the amazing profiler that she has become throughout all of these books so far, which is 32 books. As I've said before, I can totally imagine this as a detective comedy series along the lines of like Rosalian Isles, The Rookie, Castle, that kind of show. It just fits that format perfectly. So if anybody out there wants to adapt a book into a TV series, this is the one to do it. It's Jessie Hunt. I have no idea who would be casting it. I mean, that's something I'd have to think about. But Jessie is always described as like this, like early to mid 30s, dark hair, fairly short hair, but she likes being able to tie it back. But also she's seen things. She is older than her years in a way because she has been through so much shit. And I feel like when I think of Jessie Hunt, I kind of think of, who was it that played Rizzoli in Rosalian Isles? Angie Harmon. I thought I was mixing the name up with somebody else. But how Angie Harmon plays Rizzoli is how I kind of imagine Jessie a little bit. I mean, Angie is beautiful, even though at this point Angie is not the right age to play Jessie. I do think that somebody that fits kind of like the casting type for Angie Harmon would be a really good Jessie. She's described as dark hair, tall, fit, like she runs, and so yeah, when I think of Jessie, I think of Angie Harmon in Rosalian Isles. Who would play the rest of them? I have no idea. But yeah, that's where my brain goes. And yeah, as you can tell, I'm still enjoying it. But pretty much as soon as book 32 was available to download, I read these very quickly over the space of about 2 or 3 days. I was literally doing a book a day. It was just, they're just so easy to read. It's fairly short chapters. There is the occasional longer chapter, but they are just so easy to read. It is unbelievable. But yeah, so book 30 was the perfect trap. Book 31 is the perfect expression, and book 32 is the perfect accomplice. So yeah, I have been reading these through the Kindle app, but obviously I will always, where possible, direct you to the author's website or find alternative places for people to find the books. I will also say that we are now seeing Jessie's sister at university, or college. I want to say university because I'm British, but her sister Hannah is now at college. And Hannah is creating her own detective agency of sorts while at college, which is really fun to see. You're seeing her really embracing what she has learned with Kat at Kat's detective agency and implementing it into how she lives at college, like helping the roommate that is being bullied over things that happened when she was at school, when she thought this was going to be a fresh start, helping the sports guy who was accused of cheating on a test, and it'll affect his place at college. Like, yeah, it's nice to see Hannah coming into her own in figuring out what she wants to do, because originally she wanted to be a chef and she wanted to go to college to cook, and then after working with Kat at the detective agency, she realised actually she feels like she has a bit of a knack for piecing puzzles together. And she's now, I think she's studying psychology, and she's learning how to channel what were initially some bad things about herself in like chasing highs, and she's learning how to funnel that into solving cases. So yeah, I feel like I have waffled on forever, but yeah, so the perfect trap, the perfect expression, the perfect accomplice, books 30, 31 and 32. Not bored in the slightest. I was so glad to get back into this because it's definitely been a while since I've read these books, because I was waiting for book 32 to come out, and yeah, it says book 33 is ready, and so I'm just keeping an eye on it and doing 3 books at a time, because I felt like doing one at a time was going to be ridiculous considering how big this series is. And when you get to like the final pages, you just get a complete list of all the different Blake Pearce series, and Blake Pearce churns them out so quickly. which explains why there are the occasional obvious editing issues where I feel like they're just not taking enough time to really look and sort out the errors. But at the same time, I'm just like, even though it bothers me as I'm reading it slightly, the story that's being told helps me to ignore it, I think. Like, whether it is just accidentally changing a pronoun or capital letters in the wrong places or full stops and commas slightly misstrued. Yeah, it happens in books that are churned out quickly. And I just feel like the publishers and the editors really need to look at what they're doing and try not to cut corners. I think that's what's happening. I think sometimes corners are cut when they are trying to churn out these massive book series, or the influencers that have been told they have a year to write a book and they're just like, no, it's going to come out on this date no matter what, so you need to hurry up. And yeah, it happened with Sarah Noffke and Michelangelo. They're really big series that are churned out really quickly. And so yeah, this is going off on a tangent about these publishing houses that are focusing on the wrong thing a little bit. It's just like, for a good series, I don't mind waiting if it makes the book better. So I think publishing houses need to remember that, and editors, and just like, don't relax on your job just to get the book out, because if it's good, it's worth the wait. That's what I'm going to say on that. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. If you do have any comments to add about the series, what you're liking, what you're not liking, do talk to me in the comments. I love when I see people. I do try to respond to everybody. Obviously, my comment section isn't like the most active at the moment, so it makes it easier for me to personally reply to everybody, but I will always give a little like, even if I'm not able to reply in that instance. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time with another video. Mwah. Stay safe, everybody. Love you all. Bye!